Hello all, good afternoon to everybody.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
So, I think we can start the meeting. So, this is Nidhi Singhal. On behalf of Rachna Sagar Private Limited, I welcome all the teachers on this platform. Today we have Ms. Noopur Majumdar, who will be sharing CBSE Class 9 English R1 and R2 assessment frameworks for 2027. So, this is going to be a very enrichment session. I'll just brief out Ms. Noopur Majumdar. Ms. Noopur Majumdar is an experienced educator and academic trainer with extensive expertise in English language teaching and CBSE curriculum frameworks. She has conducted numerous workshops and training sessions for teachers, focusing on innovative pedagogical practices, competency-based education, and effective assessment strategies. Her sessions are known for their practical insights, engaging delivery, and learner-centric approach. I request Ms. Noopur Majumdar to take up this session.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Ma'am, you stop sharing your screen so that I can share with the participants.
Yeah, sure. I would request all the teachers that if they have any queries, they can post their queries in the chat box. Meanwhile, we'll be taking up the queries. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Good afternoon, esteemed educators. I hope this webinar proves to be insightful and enriching for all of us. I have reviewed the responses from the Google form and have tried to attempt to address as many queries as possible. You will find the questions along with my response shared in the chat box during the reflect and refresh slide when it will come, and the with your name also, with the participant's name. If any query has been missed, please feel free to raise it during the question answer session. Additionally, I have shared my Instagram account, my YouTube handle, along with my personal contact number for further clarification if required. You may reach directly to me. Now, let's begin and explore the concept of R1 and R2 in today's session. Hope you all will be comfortable. I believe, yes, ma'am.
Sorry to disturb you, ma'am. I just wanted to ask all the participants whether Noopur ma'am is audible to everybody or not.
Right. Am I audible to everyone?
Okay.
The answer is coming yes.
Yes, so we can move ahead, ma'am.
All right. And I believe the screen is clear. The shared screen regarding R1 and R2 framework. Okay. The response is coming in the chat box. Thanks, dear participants. Right. So, dear participants, today's webinar is focusing on understanding the newly introduced R1 and R2 language framework in CBSE, that is class 9th, under the recommendation of NEP 2020, that is National Education Policy 2020, and NCF for school education, which we generally call NCF SE 2023, right? Many teachers initially assume that R1 and R2 simply mean two different languages or language subjects. However, my dear educators, the real difference lies in the proficiency, depth of learning, and assessment expectations. We will dive deep into it and you will be able to understand each and everything in a very clear and crisp manner. All right. According to emerging CBSE framework, R1 represents higher or more advanced proficiency level. But if I talk about R2, it represents a comparatively guided and structured proficiency level. This means, my dear educators, R1 needs deeper literary understanding, strong analytical thinking, more independent writing, and great cultural and linguistic engagement. Whereas if we discuss about R2, R2 focuses more on functional communication, structured comprehension, guided expression, and scaffolded learning approach. Means the approach should be in small chunks. For example, dear educators, if students are asked to write on a topic, the impact of technology on teenagers, right? In R2, students may receive guided points. We will help the student, the child, the learner. Structured support should be there and short expected responses will be there. Whereas in R1, student may be expected to independently organize arguments, provide examples, and reflect critically with greater depth. Right? Moving ahead in the session, R2 may focus on direct comprehension, stack-based understanding, whereas if again I talk about R1, may expect interpretation. The child needs to interpret, analyze the theme, characters, motivations, and personal responses, my dear educators. So the framework is not about labeling students as weak or strong. We cannot say that R1 is better and R2 is bad. Both are of the same level, my dear educators. It's about creating differentiated learning pathways, two different roads, right? According to the proficiency and learning needs, right? Our approach is different. As educators, our role becomes extremely important, and we must now understand learners' readiness, modify our classroom strategies, and prepare our students according to the expected competency level. Now, moving ahead, my dear educators, what are the objectives, right? So, the first objective is to build conceptual clarity regarding R1 and R2. The concept should be clear. Since the framework is new, schools and educators' confusion naturally exists. We are in confusion, right? And today we aim to simplify the framework in a practical classroom language. I can see raised hand. I will address each and every query towards the end, right? It will be difficult for me to handle the chats as well as to take the session. So I believe you are clear. The second objective is to identify the key difference between R1 and R2. Now, the difference are mainly visible. You can see the difference as you can see on my slide also. Depth of content engagement, nature of comprehension, writing expectations, my dear friends, degree of scaffolding, and assessment style. For example, if I talk about the reading, our English is divided into 4: reading, writing, literature, and grammar. So if I talk about reading, what will be there? In R2, questions may ask student to identify information directly from the passage. I'm talking about R2, dear educators. So don't get confused. An R1 question may ask students to infer, to analyze, to justify, and critically interpret ideas from the passage. In writing skills, if I talk about, R2 provides help and support, which I initially told you all. R1 demands independent organization of thoughts, more vocabulary, analytical expression. The focus is now moving away from rote memorization towards competency-based learning, right? So the first is competency-based learning should take place. Critical thinking should be there. Communication skill should be developed, and application-oriented learning should be there in our learners, young learners. Another important objective is classroom implementation, how we can implement it in the classroom. As a teacher, we must adopt a pedagogy. And what is that pedagogy? The method. R1 classroom may require discussions based learning, literally interpretations, debates, and analytical writing. R2 classroom, if I again speak about, may require guided practice, right? We need to guide the child. Vocabulary reinforcement, structured worksheet, and step-by-step support for our learners. Finally, we will also discuss the assessment expectations so that teachers can confidently prepare students according to the new framework and avoid unnecessary confusions. Now, educational shift in CBSE. Now, why this shift is taking place, that we need to understand. All right. Now, if you can, let's see. So, if you see, the slide explains the larger educational transformation currently taking place in CBSE education. Earlier, traditional classroom focused mainly on memorization, that is rote memorization, reproduction of textbook answers, right? Whatever answers are there, they used to produce the same answers over there. And exam oriented preparations was there. However, under NEP 2020 and NCF for school education, the focus is gradually shifting towards competency-based learning, understanding, application, creativity, critical thinking, developing of communication skill, which is very, very important. If I will not be able to convey to you, you will not be able to reflect it in your classroom. So, communication is very important, and critical thinking among our learners. This shift is one of the major reasons behind introduction of the framework of R1 and R2. CBSE now wants our students to become independent thinkers, right? Handholding should not be there. Effective communicators, reflective readers, and confident writers, right? For example, earlier student might simply memorize a character sketch from literature. Now students are increasingly expected to interpret character behavior, right? No more rote learning is there. Connect themes with real life situation. Express personal viewpoint. What is their viewpoint instead of my viewpoint? And justify their responses logically. Similarly, if I talk about the writing task, the emphasis is no longer on format. Students are expected to demonstrate clarity of thoughts and audience awareness. Creativity and purpose-driven learning should take place in our classroom. The educational shift also changes the role of teacher. Our role has changed a lot, my dear educator, my dear friends, right? Today's teacher is not only a content provider. Now, gone are the days. The teacher is now a facilitator, a mentor, and a skill developer. We need to nurture the skill which are there in our students, and a guide for competency building. Therefore, dear educators, R1 and R2 framework should not see merely a change in syllabus structure. It represents a broader movement towards differentiated, learner-centered, competency-based, where education, where students are encouraged, we encourage them not only to learn answer, but also to develop understanding expression, right? So it's very, very important. Now, what are R1 and R2? That we have already discussed, right? That R1 needs less of guided practice and R2 needs more of guided practice. Now, we need to understand the framework. So let's understand R1 and R2. Now, let us clearly understand R1 and R2 actually mean. Many teachers initially feel confused about these two terms, right? However, the concept becomes very simple to understand, the purpose behind it, why it has been done. Under the revised CBSE language framework aligned with NCF for School Education 2023, R1 refers to higher proficiency level in language learning. And if I discuss about R2, refers to more functional and guided proficiency level. So this does not mean that one student is intelligent and the other is weak, which I have already discussed with you all. Instead, what CBSE is trying to create is flexible learning pathways. Both the learners learn, but the approach is different. Differentiated assessment practices and learner-friendly progression for our students. In simple language, R1 expects deeper understanding, analytical thinking, and independent expression. And if again I discuss about R2, focuses more on clarity, more on communication, structured learning, and guided language development. Now, for example, I want to go a little more in detail. If a student is asked to write a speech on social media and teenagers, right? It can be any topic, but I have chosen this specific topic. So in R2, student may receive guided points, vocabulary support, and structured clues with the help of a teacher. But in R1, student may independently organize the ideas, include examples, develop arguments, and use mature language expression, right? Similarly, if I discuss about reading comprehension, R2 focuses more on direct understanding. R1 include analytical thinking, right? An important point of educators is that both R1 and R2 use the same subject code till now, that is 184, right? No notification has come for the change. And often we can see that only one textbook is there, that is Kaveri. So we will be using the book Kaveri for R1 as well as R2. Now, the difference mainly lies, where the difference comes is in competency expectations, depth of assessment, and complexity of the task. Now, both the frameworks support inclusive education because students learn according to their proficiency level while still working towards common curricular goals. Now, let's understand the framework about R1 and R2. I believe everyone is comfortable. Don't worry for your queries. Each and every query will be addressed, right? So now let's understand the purpose behind R1 and R2 framework. CBSE has introduced this structure not to divide students. There is no such motto of CBSE, but to strengthen language learning, how we can strengthen the language learning approach among our learner in a more balanced and a more meaningful manner. The main purpose of the framework is to diversify the assessment practices, to strengthen the language competencies, and to provide balanced skill evaluation. Earlier, a single assessment style was expected, which was taken by all the learners and which we educators used to follow. Now, a change is there, my dear friends. However, every classroom includes students. I believe you all will agree to it. Different language expectations, exposure are there. Someone will be more smart than the other. Different learning pace is also there, and different confidence level among our learners is there, and different communication abilities. Someone will be more skillful in communication, right? Therefore, the new framework gives teacher the flexibility in classroom teaching and evaluation. And what is that flexibility? For example, if I talk about R2 classrooms, what will be there? Teachers may provide scaffolded worksheets, right? We can give worksheet to our learners. Vocabulary banks we can provide. These questions generally came in the Google form, and I have addressed this. You will be getting the relevant answers, right? Guided writing formats are there, and structured reading support. Whereas, again, if I talk about R1, teachers may conduct debate, right? More of speaking skills. Literary interpretation should be there, analytical discussions, research-based speaking activities, because it helps in collaboration also. When we combine or join with someone else, we have lot many ideas beyond our thinking. And extended writing tasks, right? Another important shift is balanced skill development. Skill is very, very important, which we need to imbibe among our learners. Now, assessment is not only limited to writing answers in notebooks. That was the old method, right? CBSE increasingly encourages reading comprehension, speaking and listening, creative expression, how creative we are, and critical thinking. Now, dear educators, there is a difference between thinking and critical thinking. How you will differentiate is, thinking is that I'm feeling thirsty and I will drink something, and critical thinking is that coconut water is more beneficial for me instead of a soft drink. So this is how the student need to analyze an application based task. For instance, instead of only asking students to define a literary device, which we all come across, the teacher may ask student to identify the effect. What is its effect, right, in a poem, and explain why the author has used it. So this framework encourages experiential learning, right? Experiential learning is very, very important. Students learn language not only as a subject, but as a life skill for communication, which is very, very important. We have a lot of knowledge, but we cannot convey it to other. So it's of no use. Communication skill, expression, collaboration, and real world interaction should be there. Whatever we are learning, we should be able to apply it in our day-to-day life, in our real life. That is the motto of real education. Therefore, R1 and R2 framework represents a shift towards learner-centered classroom, right? Not teacher-centered. Skill-based education should be there, and competency-driven assessment should be there. Basic difference between R1 and R2. This is, I believe, one of the important slide. If you wish, you can click, right? Otherwise, you can get everything on the CBSE portal also. Now, let's move to one of the most important part of the webinar, understanding the basic difference between R1 and R2. We assess our students for writing, grammar, reading, and literature textbook. Only one textbook is there, that is Kaveri. Now, let's discuss it in detail, my dear educators. Many educators ask, are R1 and R2 completely different syllabus? The answer is a clear-cut no. Subject remains same. English language subject code till now 184, because no official notification from CBSE side till now, so we are using it, right? Prescribed textbook only one, that is Kaveri, but the difference mainly lie in depth of learning, my dear friends, complexity of the questions and writing expectations, dear educators, and assessment style, right? So let's understand it area wise. Now, if I discuss about reading skill among our learners, I believe my voice is clear for everyone. Reading passages may demand deeper interpretation and analytical understanding. Student may infer meaning, analyze tone, and justify the viewpoint. With the tone, you are able to identify. If I talk about R2, reading focuses mainly on comprehension, clarity, and direct understanding. For example, after reading a passage, R2 may ask, I'm talking about R2 reading, what is the main reason for the event, right? For example, if any passage is there, R1 may ask, do you agree with the author's viewpoint? So you need to use your analytical thinking and viewpoint, right? If I discuss about grammar, in R2, grammar task may be more structured and practice oriented. More of practice is there. R1 grammar may integrate with contextual language. Use of advanced application should be there. Now, again, an example. R2 students may correct sentences directly, right? But if I discuss about R1s, right, students may edit a paragraph while maintaining the meaning and the style. The meaning and the style should remain the same. Now, let's explore the writing section. Now, writing focuses mainly this is one of the biggest difference in the writing section, right? So, R1 greater emphasis is on analytical, expressive and elaborative writing, right? Very important pointers. And if I discuss about R2, focuses more on functional communication expressions. So these are the important things which we need to take care. Anyhow, feel free. I'm always there to help you out, even if the webinar is over. For example, if students write an article on the importance of reading habit, R2 students may write short, structured passage with guided practice. Somebody is guiding them, right? But if I talk about R1, student may develop arguments, examples, reflection should be there, and critical observation, that is minute little observation, should come independent. Now, easy, length and complexity. Right? R1 responses are generally more detailed, right? More analytical and more, you can interpret from those responses. But if I discuss about the R2 responses, they are generally shorter, clearer, and they are practical in approach, focused, right? So an important point for the teachers, for educators, is that R1 is not better and R2 is not weaker. Both have a balanced approach. Both frameworks are designed to support different proficiency level and learning needs while ensuring that English language grows for all the learners, right? We have different type of learners. As educators, our goal is to guide students to get the confidence according to the framework's expectation. If you are taking class of R2, then what you have to do, you have to take into consideration. And if you are a R1 teacher, right? So you have to, your approach should be a little different. Now, why has CBSE introduced R1 and R2? Let's explore. Now, a big question why CBSE has done R1 and R2. The answer lies in the changing goals of education under NEP 2020. We all know. And competency-based learning reforms. Changes are there, right? Earlier, students focused mainly on memorizing of the answer and producing the same in the examination. However, CBSE now wants a student to understand the concept. They should be able to understand, apply the language skill in day-to-day situation, communicate effectively, which is very, and the most important skill, right, as per CBSE, and think independently. Therefore, the framework has been introduced to reduce rote memorization, which children used to do earlier, and encourage meaningful learning, right? For example, earlier, what they used to do, often memorized formats and model for writing tasks, right? We gave a letter there, learn the format. Now, students are expected to write according to the purpose. What is the purpose behind it? Use original expressions. Organize ideas logically and communicate effectively. Another reason is that language should not remain to examinations only. Student must be able to use English in real life communication, presentations, discussions, creative expressions, and future career. So they need to develop these skills. When students participate in group discussions, interviews, debates, or in presentations, they use practical communication skills. And CBSE now wants the classroom to support these competencies among our learner. The framework also helped to assess multiple language skills more effectively. And what are these multiple language skills? They are reading, writing, listening, speaking, and interpretation, and as well as analytical thinking also. Another important objective, my dear educators, is preparing students for the future academic and professional need. We are not just moving them from one class to another class. We are preparing the future we are imbibing the future competencies, right? So now what the world wants, the future world wants, that there should be communication ability, there should be confidence among our learners, there should be collaboration, critical thinking, and adaptability for our students. Therefore, R1 and R2 framework aligns smoothly with the vision of NEP 2020, my dear educators, where education becomes learner-centered, skill-based. We need to develop skill among our students, flexible and competency-based. As teachers, as we now move from completing syllabus content towards developing real language proficiency in our class. Now, for everything, there is a benefit, right? So how it's going to benefit the teachers? Let's discuss. Right? So initially, many educators feel that R1 and R2 increase the work pressure and for our teachers, for our educators, but it's not that. In reality, the framework provides great flexibility and better teaching opportunities. Now, flexible teaching approaches are there. Teachers can now design the lesson plan according to the learner's need and classroom requirement, right? We can design lesson plan as per our requirement. For example, in R2 classroom, teacher may use guided practice, vocabulary support, and structured activity. In R1 classroom, teachers may include debates, independent research, analytical thinking, activity-based learning should take place. Now, the framework encourages interactive teaching methods, right? The student should come up with various ideas instead of lecture method, like the teacher is speaking and the learner is just listening, right? It should be an active classroom. Active engagement of the student should be there. Teacher can use role play. This question again came in the Google form. Peer discussion, presentation activities, group tasks, reading circle, and project-based learning approach. For example, while teaching a chapter, a student can enact scenes, right? Conduct character interviews instead of writing just question and answer. So they should be connected with the teacher and the entire class so that collaborative learning can also take place. Better classroom interaction. And how better classroom interaction can be there? When we are exchanging our thoughts with each other, we get to know lot many ideas. Students become engaged, my dear educators, because they actively participate in the learning instead of passive learning learners, right? Because they are analyzing, they are presenting, and there is collaboration. And this improves the energy of the class, and it becomes a happy classroom and an active classroom. Now, scope for creativity, as you can see on my slide. Teachers can get more freedom for planning lessons and assessment design. For example, instead of only worksheet practice, this is the old method. You can go for podcast activities, poster creation, reflection journals, creating speaking tasks for your learners, real communication exercises, right? You are actually communicating with them, and there should be overall development, which we call holistic assessment, should be there for our learners, right? Assessment now becomes more balanced. Teachers can evaluate, or the facilitators can evaluate their understanding, creativity, communication, whether they are able to apply the context in their day-to-day life or not, application is taking place or not, and critical thinking. Now, professional growth for teachers is also very, very important. Now, this framework, that is the R1 and R2 framework, supports teachers' development because teachers gradually build better assessment literacy, right? So, and our approach, that is the pedagogical approach, our teaching approach also changes. Now that I have discussed about how it's going to benefit the teachers. Now we are going to talk about how it's going to benefit our students, right? So CBSE's competency-based learning approach focuses on developing, which we have already discussed, critical thinking, application of that critical thinking in day-to-day life, communication, problem solving skill rather than rote memorization. So the old method should go and these competencies should be imbibed. Through R1 and R2 learning approach, students gradually become more active and confident learners. First student develop critical thinking skill. He needs to think critically, right? Instead of only recalling the textbook answers, they began to analyze about the situation and how he or she will be able to handle that situation, right? For example, if a student reads a passage about excessive use of mobile phones, they are encouraged to discuss, do mobile phone helps the students, which is a very big question nowadays, or do they distract them more, right? And the more we engage them, the more endless number of answers we will be able to get and explore beyond our imagination. And this developed reasoning and independent thinking among our learners. Second, dear educators, it improves creativity and imagination, right? They think that they are in that situation, they imagine, and then they come forward with various ideas. Students are expressing ideas in different ways through storytelling. It can be reflective writing also, it can be poster, it can be presentation, and it can be discussion as well. For instance, after reading a story, a teacher may ask, what would be an alternate ending, right? And then you will see that you will get lot many answers as per their critical thinking and creativity. This allows students to think in a very creative manner beyond the textbook, beyond the boundaries. Third, student gain communication confidence, right? Regular speaking, peer discussion, collaborative activities reduces hesitation. Collaboration also helps in this, removing the fear of how to speak. For example, simple classroom activities like think, pair, share, we all do in our class, group discussions, help the student to come out gradually, right? Now, analytical thinking abilities also develop among our learners, and students learn to interpret the information, they compare the ideas in different situations, identify the cause and effect, what is the cause and what can be its effect, and they come up with the answer, right? For example, while reading a newspaper article, student may identify, newspaper reading goes on in our classroom, right? Most of us follow it. So the authors, what is the author's viewpoint? What are the supporting facts related to it? And what is the hidden message conveyed in that? This supports real life language application. The more they read, the more they are able to explore. Students begin using language naturally and in a practical situation such as writing emails, they understand, expressing opinions, their individual viewpoint, giving presentations, and participating in discussion, which is very, very important. As a result, their writing fluency improves, right? Because they practice expressive writing regularly rather than memorizing. So give them small assignment and they will come with wonderful expressive ideas and opinions. Now, dear educators, what is one takeaway from the session so far? Kindly write in the chat box. In the meantime, I will take a 2-minute pause and I will try to address your queries which you have forwarded in the Google form and which and which you have put in the chat box. So I will switch off my video for a second so that I can address the queries. Now, one question I got from Rashmi Maheshwari ma'am. Now, her question was, what are the different type of writing and how can student be taught to write them effectively, right? Though I will be answering each and every question in the chat box along with your names, but a few I would love to answer. And if more number of questions are there, you can ask towards the end because we will be having two reflect and refresh slides and the question answer round also, right? So, Rashmi ma'am, your answer is students should be exposed to various forms of writing as we have discussed, whether it's descriptive writing, whether it's narrative writing, whether it's persuasive writing, or whether it's creative writing. So different type of writing practices should be given to the students, and R1 and R2, as you have seen on my slide, they conveyed the different writing practices. So you can follow them and help your student. And teacher can use model text, guided practice, brainstorm activities with your student, right? You can just see the work of your students regularly. If it's a R2 student, you need to support and help your student so that the student is able to feel comfortable in the class situation. I believe you are getting the answers in the text in the chat box. Now, another question which I got from Priyanka Rai ma'am, what is the future of English language teaching and learning in changing educational landscape? So this question was there. So again, the answer is the future of English, ma'am, is lies on us, how we can develop the skill among our learners, right? So developing of communication skill, collaboration, critical thinking, creativity, it's very, very important. We need to nurture these skills among our learners. And definitely, when we will imbibe these skills, our learners will excel in life, right? So we just need to take a small step. We just need to guide them, motivate them, which is very, very important, and support them so that they can bloom. Now, another question which was put forward by Meenakshi ma'am. I believe Meenakshi ma'am is there in the session and she is, I am addressing your question. Do we need to teach the supplementary chapters? She has asked, after completing the main chapter in Kaveri, or can they taught be independently? Ma'am, first of all, there is only one textbook. That is Kaveri, that is fully based on value education, competency based education. Each and every chapter of Kaveri, it is designed in a very thoughtful manner, right? So, the first in literature section, you have to just take care of Kaveri. You need to be a facilitator and a role model in order to help your students. Now, the screen is not moving. Okay, it's. Now, moving ahead, I will be addressing the other queries in the chat box. Kindly have a look at the chat box also, so that your query does not get unaddressed. Now, let's discover reading skill under R1, right? So, if I discuss reading skills, focuses on high order reading abilities among our learners. Here, students are expected not only to read, but to analyze, interpret, reflect, and express their opinions. The first focus, my dear educator, is discursive understanding, right? Students read the text that involve argument, viewpoints, discussion on social issues, on real life situations. For example, a passage on environment protection may ask, should plastic be completely banned? A very, very important question. Students are expected to justify their opinion with reasoning. And the second focus, if we will discuss, is analytical reading, right? Students learn to identify main ideas. What is the main idea of a chapter or a poem? Analyze the tone, understand the purpose behind it, why it is written, and interpret the hidden meaning. For example, after reading an editorial, students may identify whether the writer's tone is optimistic, whether it's critical, or whether it's persuasive, whether it's in a request form. Another important strategy is opinion based interpretation. We have to take care of their opinion. Now, CBSE always encourages students to think independently instead of depending only on the textbook statement. We need to use our brain, critical thinking in a specific situation, right? So, do you agree with the author's opinion? We need to give our own viewpoints, right? R1 also emphasis on vocabulary enhancement. Vocabulary should be rich through contextual understanding. The context should be clear. Instead of memorizing the meaning separately, students learn words and how they learn after reading the situation. For example, if a student understands the meaning of the word resilient, many of us may not know. Through a story showing a person overcoming a challenges, then the child is able to understand what it actually means in a real life situation. And one effective strategy is editorial reading, right? A very important strategy, right? Now, if we discuss about the reflective discussion, that is again very, very important. Whatever we are learning, we need to reflect it. We need to display it. What lessons we can apply in our real life? Again, an important question. And this makes reading connected with real experiences, with our day-to-day experience. Inference building. Exercises are also very useful. For example, do you think why the character remains silent? So what happens? We need to read between the lines. We need to understand, and then we need to answer logically, right? Now think, pair and share activity. Again, it's a collaborative activity where the child takes helps or gives help to the peer, to the friend, and is able to understand the things in a very clear and crisp manner. Now, reading skills under R2. Now, let's understand reading skills under R2. Now, we have discussed the reading skills under R1. Now, if we talk about R2, Give stronger attention to comprehension, interpretation, and application-based understanding. The first focus area is literary comprehension. Students, they learn to understand themes, emotions, characters, and literary element in stories and in the poems. For example, if I talk about after reading the story, student may discuss what qualities of the character inspired you the most. So there can be many qualities, several qualities, and whatever qualities you liked as a child, as a learner, you may focus. Now, students are trained to identify direct information, details, and supporting facts from a passage. A passage is given and the learner needs to identify. For instance, if there is a travel article, student may answer where the event happened, why it happened, and what conclusion you can draw from it. Another important concept is contextual interpretation. A context is there and you need to interpret. And what it develops character behavior, conflicts, moral values, and themes. So another important strategy is data interpretation, right? So student may read or go through an advertisement or a poster or report answers related to the questions and develop practical reading skills and modern assessment practices. Now, character understanding is also very, very effective, right? We need to understand the character, why a character behaved in a particular manner. For example, if you were in place of the protagonist, what would you do differently? So we need to keep ourselves in that specific situation. As English educators, we all have wonderful ideas, right? Right? And no question can be a wrong question. It is your outlook, right? And it developed empathy and understanding about that particular or a specific situation. Finally, visual readings. We are looking at a picture, student interpret through a cartoon, through a graphic, right? Or through a poster, and they're able to answer the question. So overall, R2 develops comprehension accuracy, interpretation skills, practical understanding. The understanding should be practical in approach. Application-based learning helps students to become active and meaningful readers. Now, let's explore grammar, the new approach. Now, moving towards one of the most important slides, that is grammar, the new approach, introduced by CBSE's competency-based framework, and how we should teach grammar in our classroom, right? Traditionally, grammar was often taught through memorization of rules, definitions, and isolated exercises. Worksheets were provided to the students. Now, students used to learn grammar mechanically without understanding how language is actually used in real communication, right? Because our purpose is that they should be lifelong learners. However, CBSE now emphasizes that functional and contextual grammar learning should be there. Again, I am repeating, functional and contextual grammar learning should be there. And this means the grammar should not be taught separately from other language. Instead, it should be connected with reading, writing, speaking, and real life communication. The focus has shifted from do students know the rule? Can students apply the rule correctly in communication? For example, instead of teaching the definition of tenses, teacher may ask students, see, this is how we have to use our thinking. Like, what's your daily routine? What activities you did yesterday, or what are your future plans, right? And now what is happening? The student naturally use present tense, past tense, and future tense in the context, right? Similarly, instead of memorizing active and passive voice, this question came in the Google form. Student can convert real newspaper headlines, right? Whatever are the actual newspaper headlines into passive structure. A very useful exercise for all of us. And what this approach develops: accuracy, fluency, confidence in language use. Now, CBSE guides assessment pattern also reflects this specific change. Grammar questions are now more application-based educator, more contextual, and more competency-focused. So overall, the new approach aims to make grammar more practical, more interactive, connected with everyday communication. Now, from rule to application, right? Now, let us understand how grammar can be applied differently in R1 and R2. So, in grammar, editing and omission tasks can be there, then error and identification we can follow. So, we need to train our children in that specific direction. For example, students can receive a paragraph containing mistakes and they can do the necessary correction, whether it's related to subject-verb agreement, whether it's related to tenses, articles, or prepositions, right? And they identify the error and they are supplying the correct answer. For example, I'm giving you just one simple example. She go to school every day. Suppose you gave the question to the student. The student are able to identify the error and correct it too. She goes to school every day, and this improves the attention of language accuracy, right? Now coming to R2 grammar, it's paragraph, completing a paragraph and contextual language use, right? For example, if I talk about students may complete a dialogue, an email, a notice writing, a short paragraph using suitable grammar structure, right? And you can give some easy examples and then you can move to a difficult level so that they are able to complete the allotted task or the given task. You can give them stories, conversations, reading passages, right? And classroom communication. Now, the second meaningful application is students should understand why and where grammar structure is used. For example, they should know that formal language should be used in emails, informal should be used in conversations. Now, effective grammar strategies. Let's discuss, right? Error analysis tasks should be there, right? Now, the first strategy, my dear friends, is a teacher can provide sentences or short passages containing grammatical errors, mistakes, and students are asked to identify it. For example, I'm taking a very simple example. He do not like coffee and the child changes into he does not like coffee. And students can work in pair also, like collaborative learning, peer editing, daily language drill, interactive grammar games, which is very, very important, can be organized in our classroom to make the teaching effective and the child is able to learn it very thoughtfully, right? So you can go deep into it. You can use your own ideas and views in order to make it more effective. Now, writing skills under R1. Now we are talking about writing skills. Now, it emphasizes on creativity, right? How creative you are, detailed expression, independent thinking should be there. According to CBSE competency-based approach, students are encouraged, we need to encourage to express ideas clearly. And what we can do descriptive essays like the slide which you have seen in the beginning, where we have defined R1 and R2. That is a very, very important slide, right? Describe your favorite place in your school. The child needs to be thoughtful, and the student may explain the library as a peaceful place, right? Using his sensory organs also, right? How he feels, whether he feels calm and composed over there. Narrative essays, right? Student writes stories based on imagination. Then factual description is there, and what the child is supposed to do in factual description. Based on fact, the child is supposed to write, right? Whatever facts are there, no unnecessary use of elements which are not existing. Informal invitation, my dear friends, as the name suggests, students learn everyday communication skill and they can write informal invitations. They can use their creativity, their expression, logical sequencing of the matter, and they can elaborate it in a detailed writing. And again, it's adding to their creativity. Now, writing skills under R2, where we need to give them support and guidance. Compared to R1, R2 focuses more on functional, structured communication. CBSE has introduced the task that students should be helped effectively and they should be lifelong learners using the language in a very organized manner, right? So poster making is there, right? Save water, save life poster. This is just one example. You can use any other topic of your choice as per the requirement of the chapter, right? Speech writing is there. Student can address our audience formally, present ideas confidently, and again it's developing a lot of skills among them, right? Like importance of reading habits among the student. Now functional communication, now as the name, it includes practical writing such as notices, messages, emails, and formal communication. Now if I talk about narrative writing, dear educators, students continue story writing with more structured and guided practice, right? And we need to provide them the word limit. Now, how to teach effectively? Now, you can use picture prompts, story starters, brainstorming should be there. Like in picture prompts, if I talk about, it can be a crowded station, right? And you need to describe it. Now, story starters, if I talk about, you give them a clue. I opened a box and dash, dash, dash. Now, the child needs to complete the story. Brainstorming, right? What is brainstorming? Students discuss ideas together before writing. So they work in peer and then they are discussing and writing. Guided writing, where you are helping the child. Like peer review, they are helping each other, they are helping their friends in reviewing each other's work. And vocabulary walls, again, a very, very important strategy for the learners under R2, right? Specifically in order to overcome the situation. Now, how we can excel? We as educators have certain limitations, right? And for that, Rachna Sagar is always there to help you out. You can use together books, right? For your class 9th and for class 10th. Now, if I discuss in detail about these books, they are strictly aligned with the CBSE and NCRT guidelines. They are very, very helpful, right? You can get competency-based questions as per NEP and CBSE assessment patterns, which help the students and the educators to overcome the challenge, right? Integrated assignment worksheets are there. You can see on my slide that pull-out worksheet are there for class 9th and 10th. Educators can use it, so it reduces our work and helps us in utilizing our time for other activities in the class. Now, NCRT question and workbook questions are also included in it. It's very helpful in making our question papers. It gives us a guided practice, oriented practice before the performance, right? And if I discuss, it's ideal for classroom learning, right? Homework, for revisions, and for assessment. We do not have to search. Everything is there in these books. They are so well organized and well planned, right? According to Bloom's taxonomy, according to competency-based, you can get competency-based question, and it aligns with NEP and CBSE assessment pattern, my dear educators. You can have a look of these books. I have already gone through these books and I found that these books are very, very helpful. Now, let's discuss about the literature component.
Noopur ma'am, sorry to disturb you. Here, I would like to add my new launch. So, could you please share the last slide?
Yeah, sure, ma'am, sure.
Sorry to bother you in the.
No issues, ma'am.
Slide to
Now I hand over the stage to Nidhi ma'am, and she will be guiding us regarding the new launch of CBSE book from Rachna Sagar.
Good evening again. This is Nidhi. we are pleased to announce that we have launched our new book that is named as 100 Plus Prep. It's from Together with 100 Plus Prep, CBSE competency-based question bank plus solved papers for classes 10th and 12th. The most important factor here is we have added value-added services to this book, which I'm going to explain you. We have introduced a platform, NTA, National Toppers Academy, with this book. Here, the child is going to get 4 value-added services, which are, he can have a word with exam evaluator. Second, paper setter, exam strategist. CBSE toppers till date, he can have interaction with all these people, plus he can also have a question answer session with our subject matter experts, SMEs. My author could be there also. So we have 4 value added services joined with this title, which comes under the category of 100 plus prep, competency based question bank plus solved papers for classes 10th and 12th. The board classes, obviously, because we can have paper setter, paper evaluator and toppers or CBSE. And they can also have a live interaction with the SMEs where they can talk about their queries, and they would be discussing how the exam paper is being set, what points they consider in mind while setting the paper, what points they check in the answer sheet. So they are going to be very helpful for the students so that they can analyze how the paper is being set, what important points do the evaluators see in the answer book, which can provide them 100% marks. And they need not to run here and there to find out their solutions to the queries. They can book their query session with my SME and they can have a direct interaction. Now the point is how they are going to get these services. We have given a boarding pass with each of the book. If you can see, here is the boarding pass, their entry to this platform. They can log on to my website, that is www.rachnasagar.in. As you can see in the boarding pass, there is a scratch code given here. They need to register themselves by register now. They can add their details and then they need to add the scratch code, which is given inside the book on the boarding pass, and they can get the value added services. All the details are shared inside. So I would request all the teachers, all the facilitators, all the educators to recommend these books to the students because they will shape their future. I would request all of you to please recommend these books to the students because it's new. Sir,
it's not clearly visible.
I think this boarding pass is clear to everybody. And if you will order for the you will say request for the specimen copies, you would be able to see it better. This is the boarding pass attached with the book inside, where the scratch code is being given, which the child needs to scratch. Noopur ma'am, I would request you to stop sharing your screen so that I am visible more.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, I think now this boarding pass is visible to you. So this is the scratch code given here, which the child can scratch and enter into my platform. We have given more value-added services in the book inside. This is the title page where you can see the photographs of exam evaluator, paper setter, and CBSE toppers. At the back side, you can see the SMEs are given here, with whom you can have a live interaction. So this is a completely overhauled book. This is a new version of Competency Question Bank launched by Rachna Sagar Private Limited. At the end, we also have a revision kit, which is in the form of a chart. So
Yeah, ऐसा लिखा हुआ है they are not able to see the boarding pass. People are writing on the chat box.
I would like to ask that if my boarding pass was visible to everybody, or if you were not able to see it, could you please let me know in the chat box?
No. Not really.
Ma'am, what you can do, sorry to interrupt you in between, you can send the image to me and I will be sharing.
Okay. Not visible.
Now visible. Nothing. No man. No.
आप इसको देखना.
आपकी स्क्रीन दिख रही है?
हाँ दिख रही है, सब दिख रही है. Pass visible to you or not?
Nidhi ma'am, it's not visible to the educators. Kindly send it to me. I will be sharing. So it will be more clear to them.
Okay. Okay, I'll be sharing it shortly again, this boarding pass with you. I was. Noopur ma'am, is this chart visible to you?
No ma'am, it's not visible.
Can you see that I'm holding something in my hand?
Yeah ma'am, yeah, now it's visible. Now it's visible.
Okay, fine. Now let me show the boarding pass, ma'am. Please let me know if it's visible.
Yes ma'am, it's visible, absolutely visible.
Okay, fine.
Participants are requested to take the screenshot. It will be helpful for each one of you. One more thing which participants generally ask regarding your e-certificates, that you will be getting in your email ID. The email ID which you have provided, need not to worry for that, as you will be having my phone number. Feel free to get connected and ask as many questions as you wish, because in a confined period of time, we will not be able to address all the queries. Anyhow, I will love to answer each and every query of yours.
Not clear. Take a picture and share. A picture is not available.
आपने काम करो. So I am trying to capture the image and I will be sharing shortly. This is a kind of a chart which we have appended at the end of the book, which is a revision kit of all the chapters. So this will be very helpful for the teachers as well as the students. These books are available for classes 10th and 12th. As I told you that these are board classes. So this NTA is available for classes 10th and 12th, where we have 4 value added services. So if you want the specimen copy, you can request for the same in the chat box. The boarding pass and this revision kit will be visible to you. If you have any queries related to this 100 plus prep CBSE competency based question bank plus solved papers, you can post your query in the chat box. I'll take care of it. And I'll make sure that you get the specimen copy also, those who have requested in the chat box. So if you have any query related to this NTA, these value added services are completely free of cost. Well, you will buy the book only and you will be getting this value added services completely free. So I would request the teachers to recommend this book to the students so that they can score better in their coming board exams.
Ma'am, we can do one thing. We can put a form for the specimens as the teachers are claiming the specimen. So we can put a specimen form. If there is any specimen form, we can send a link and the teachers can fill the details and we will send the specimens to all then. Okay. Nidhi ma'am, are you able to hear me? Nidhi, are you mute?
Yes, sir, we are able to hear you. Everything is clear, crystal. So we are understanding.
Right, ma'am. Thank you so much. Nidhi ma'am, I think you're mute, so you can also send a link of the specimen form to all the teachers.
Okay. Okay. We'll be sharing the specimen copy link here or the form so that we'll get the details and we'll send the specimen copy as suggested by Neeraj sir. We'll be sharing the form in this chat box only. Thank you. So this was the information, informative information which I wanted to share with you all. Now I would request Noopur ma'am to carry forward the session.
Thank you, ma'am. And let me share the screen again. So we were discussing about the literature component, and I have already told you are you able to see me? Because it's coming Rachna Sagar, right? So my image is coming. Okay. Right. So we were discussing the literature component, and each and every chapter of literature is being developed and designed in a very thoughtful manner. Now we have only one textbook, that is Kaveri, and we will be using it for R1 as well as R2, right? So the major skills developed in literature are interpretation, appreciation. Like if I talk about So I was talking about interpretation. Now everyone might have gone through the chapter, the pot maker, right? And it's a beautiful chapter, right? So we can get into elements of interpretation in it, right? How dedication and willpower help to overcome the challenge. If I talk about appreciation, so student to learn to appreciate the writer's language and style as well as the message. Now, a beautiful poem, Bharata Land by Subramanyam Bharati, uh, in the beginning itself. Now, theme analysis is there, character understanding. If you go through the central chapter, that is the pot maker, literary response writing, and the teaching approaches. If I talk about, then the teaching approach, this should be discussion based, which is very, very important teaching. Dramatization should be there. One question in the Google form was there for them. Dramatization, which I have addressed. Na? So these are the important elements which we need to highlight. Now I cannot scroll my screen because, right. Now, strengthening answer writing skills, that is RTC, reference to context question, SEQs, short answer questions, and LAQs, long answer questions, right? If I talk about RTCs and a particular paragraph or a section is given, then the skill developed are contextual understanding. The child is able to understand. If I go deep into detail about short answer questions, then the child is very careful while reading the chapter and is reproducing whatever he or she has undergone, and at the same time there should be clarity of expression, right? And going more deeper into the chapter, into long question and answers, right, which is again an important part, and together books provide us, right? Rachna Saga. Skill developed are critical thinking, structured expressions are there. Now, evidence-based writings are there. And what, as a student, as a learner, we need to do? We need to introduce the idea as an educator, explain the key points from the text to the child, support their answers with examples. With example, it should be there, and we need to conclude effectively. Now, as an educator, what is our role? The big role. Teachers should encourage students to support answer with textual evidence. Whatever is there in the text, they need to support it. Use complete sentence, organize idea in a very logical and sequential manner. Avoid memorized learning. That should not happen. And write in your own words. Now, again, I will give you a 2 minutes pause, and in the meantime, I will address your queries. So, what is one idea you will apply in your classroom? Kindly mention in the chat box, because we learn together, we grow together, isn't it? So, I will learn a lot of things from you all. Feel free and write your answers in the chat box. In the meantime, I will try to address your queries. Like one question I got specifically was related with like someone asked me, is R1 equivalent to old standard mathematics, right? Basic and standard. So it's not exactly, the philosophy is similar in offering different levels, but the language framework is based on proficiency and competency development, right? So again, I will try to use Robert Frost line, two roads, but the goal is same, right? So it's not like that. Child can opt for R1, can go for R2. Now, let's move ahead regarding competency-based learning approach, which is very, very important for national education policy and CBSE's academic framework. Now, the child should know to apply knowledge, analyze the question, communicate effectively, think critically, and solve the things creatively, right? So this is something very, very important, because competency-based education, competency-based questions are more on original thinking and logical thinking. Now, what does competency-based education mean? That I have already discussed with you all, right? It's applying of knowledge, analyzing the situation, communicating in a very effective manner. We need to think in a very logical and clear manner, that is in a critical manner, and solve the problem. And CBSE's competency-based questions often assess. What do they assess? They assess, we all have undergone Bloom's taxonomy, right? It's understanding, application, analysis, evaluation, creativity. So all these approaches should be there in English. Like if I talk about the present class 10th English textbook, in which we all have read the Letter to God chapter, Lencho. Now, who was Lencho? So this is traditional question. But if I talk about competency-based question, it should be, how did Lencho's faith help him to face adversity? Explain with evidence from the story. So it's, the child needs to trigger, the child needs to use his minds in a logical manner and need to understand and explore. Now, classroom changes are also there, transformation. Now, if you see, the slide highlights how competency-based learning transforms or changes our classroom practices, na? And how it changes, the focus is no longer on lecture method or rote memorization. It's more on collaboration. We need to discuss in order to make it a happy classroom. Discussion should be there. A reflection, project-based learning. There should be learning by doing, or we can call it experiential learning also. Creativity should be there among the learners. Now, if I discuss about the assessment strategies, now we as educators need to use rubrics, formative assessments, right? Formative, every day which we are assessing the child, right? And how it can be done. For example, it takes place during the learning process. We all know, right? Like we can organize short quizzes, we can use e-tickets, we can use classroom discussions in order to assess the students. Now, portfolio assessments, they maintain a collection of their work over a period of time, and then we are assessing it. Peer evaluation, CBSE permits. They are checking each other work, but they are always putting a positive note, right? So that the child should not feel disheartened. And oral presentations are also there in order to help our learners. Now, integrating technology, digital India, isn't it? We all are digitally very, very active from the COVID period, right? So now CBSE also promotes it. And what does integration say? That we can use Canva, and it helps the students create posters, presentations, and visuals projects over a period of time, right? Padlet. Padlet is again a very, very important tool, serves as a collaborative learning digital wall where student can share ideas and responses, right? After reading a story, and student can post their reflections over there. They can get lot many more ideas from their friends. Now, I believe Nidhi ma'am has shared the thing, right? Ma'am, Nidhi ma'am, request you to share it on my WhatsApp number. Now, Kahoot is there, makes revision very, very engaging and effective, and it's game-based also, which children love a lot. Now, Quizzy provides self-paced assessment and instant feedback. The moment we are answering, we are getting the feedback, and it helps us to upskill ourselves and in order to improve ourselves. Now, Google Classroom, we'll know a lot about it, help to manage assignments, right? Day-to-day work, announcement, feedbacks effectively. Students can submit their writing, their assessments in an online manner or in a digital platform, and it's technology, and it's how it's going to benefit us, because more of interactive learning is there, increased student participation is there, more number of students are able to participate. Now, creativity also increases a lot. But dear educators, with everything there is a challenge. And what is that challenge which we face as educators? A real big problem for each one of us, isn't it? So while competency-based education offers numerous benefit to each of one of us, now we as educators face challenges. Now, understanding these challenges is very, very important. And what are the common challenges? They are time management. Sometimes there is lack of time. Mixed learner level is there. It's very difficult to tackle it, right? Now we need to use our brain, and we need to manage the situation, how much time to devote on R1 child and how much in a R2 child, if you are following both, right? Now, next is writing anxiety. Some children, they don't want to write at all. Writing anxiety is there. So we need to give them small tasks so that they can come up with the situation, making them participate in creative writing activities because they lack confidence, and assessment adaptation is also there. Now, what it is, teachers may initially find it challenging because whenever a new thing is coming, like the COVID period, we initially started from Zoom. It was a learning phase for each one of us, right? And our students help us to learn. So again, R1 and R2 find it challenging. From traditional testing methods to competency-based, we need to scaffold the things, make it into small chunks, right? Flexible teaching approaches should be there. Change it because now CBSE also permits us. Now, differentiated learning, continuous practice should be given, and learning as per the requirement of the child. Reason being, we want that every child should be feel valued in our classroom, right? So we need to handle all this situation in a very critical manner. Now, one more thing, that it aligns with NEP 2020. We all know that, right? As we conclude towards the end of the session, right? So why it is there? Because the first point is that it should be aligned with NEP 20 and 2020. National education policy always emphasize that competency-based learning should take place, critical thinking should happen in our classroom, communication, creativity, and holistic development should be there. Language classroom play a very important role. And secondly, communication skills are among the most important skill which we need to nurture among our learners, right? Right. So for that, researchers, teachers, civil servants, they need to express their ideas in a very clear and confident manner. For example, I'm giving you just one example. While reading a story about resilience, students learn a valuable life lesson about courage and about decision-making ability. Now I have a sample classroom activity. And what all we can do in our classroom. Again, this question appeared in the Google form. So just have a look of this. So let's look and dive deep into the practical classroom that demonstrate competency-based learning among our learners, among our students, and how it should happen. The first step is teachers may display interesting images, visual prompt which we are talking about, which the child is going to see and we are going to discuss, right? So more of communication should happen. The second is brainstorming. Students share possible ideas, characters, settings, emotions, and students are able to associate with that. And what happens, that it increases the creativity among our learners. It develops the communication skill among our learners. The third step is story mapping. Now, what is story mapping? Students are organizing the ideas in a simple structure, like what should be there in the beginning, what is the problem or the challenge that came, what is the key event, what is the resolution, how we can tackle it, and how we can conclude. If Nidhi ma'am, you have not sent me the image, kindly send it to me. Just text her. Right? And the fourth step is writing. Right? Student independently write their narratives, their ideas generated during the brainstorming and story mapping. So whatever ideas they are getting, they are writing it. The fifth step is feedback. Feedback are very, very important, right? So I believe if you will give me my feedback, it will be very, very helpful so that I can cover those areas also which I have left today, right? So, and self-reflection. Now, the most important part, self-reflection. Students think about the questions such as, what is the most challenging part? What did I learn today? How can I improve? Right? So, self-reflection is very, very important. And giving day-to-day real-life example is again very, very important. Now, teachers' reflection activity. Let's move ahead. See, we all need to reflect about our teaching practices, and CBSE's competency-based approaches encourages not only students' reflection, but teachers' reflection also. When teachers or we as educators reflect in the classroom practices, teaching becomes more effective, it becomes more meaningful. Now, and what all we can do, how can we reduce rote learning? That we need to introspect, right? What all we can do in our classroom so that the child comes up with original ideas. The second is, how can we make our classroom more activity based? So more of activities should be conducted from time to time. And the third is, how can assessment become more meaningful? So assessment should not be only for marks or making the child move from one to another class. It should be on his understanding whether the child has actually carried the concept home or not, right? Now, let's discuss about the key takeaways of today's session. R1 and R2 framework are not separate subjects, right? Their approach is different, but it's the same. We are using the same textbook, Kaveri, prescribed by NCERT, right? So, R1 and R2, again, I'm telling dear educators, are not different. Many teachers initially feel that they are different. In syllabus, however, CBSE clarify that both follow the same learning outcomes as well as the competency, right? Next is focus should be there on competency and on communication skill, because it's a skill, right, which the child is going to use in his or her life. Teaching must be learner centered. It should not be teacher centered, the whole approach. Assessment should be holistic. The overall development of the child should be there. Teacher plays a very important part in assessing the child. Now, if you have any query, any doubt, feel free to ask me. If you have any doubt, any query, you can feel free to ask me, dear educators. Otherwise, you can write your queries in the chat box. You can connect to me to the later on also, whatever suits you best. Learning never stops. We are always connected on the virtual mode. Any question, any query, dear educators, though I have tried to address all the queries of the Google Forms and the chat box, I personally saw each and every question and tried to answer. Anyhow, if any question is unattended, please feel free and ask.
Ma'am, Noopur ma'am, sorry to interrupt you again. that session which I took for this CBSE competency question bank, I would like to add few more
Okay.
points for this
Unmute.
5 minutes.
Okay. Okay.
Please unmute yourself.
Stop sharing. Stop sharing movie.
Yeah. Any question, any query, feel free to ask me.
Hello, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am.
Noopur ma'am, please.
Previously, there were letter to editor, inquiry. So this year, are we going to have only letter to editor?
Ma'am, everything is, I have already shown in the slide. Anyhow, if you want the specific details, you can connect to me. Yeah, a letter to editor is there. Sure, ma'am.
Ma'am, only one question that the students will be opting the R1 or
Ma'am,
R2 or
kindly
the
share
teacher
your
will be
phone number.
Yeah, ma'am. Towards the end, I will be sharing. Feel free. Right?
Ma'am, kindly share your phone number.
My phone
Good evening.
number is 9958237262, which you will get towards the end of the slide. So don't feel worried for that, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, students will be opting R1, R2 or the teacher will be prescribing that this student
Ma'am,
is for R1 or R2.
it's student's choice and school's approach.
It means, ma'am, there is no compulsion.
No, ma'am. There is no compulsion.
Hello,
Okay,
ma'am.
thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
Himlata ma'am. Ma'am, I want to know whether the paper of both the same pattern will be there. Paper pattern for R1, R2, that is.
Yeah, ma'am. There
mark-
will be two types of question papers that is based on R1 and R2. But
R1
still,
you have-
notification needs to come from the CBSE side. They are working upon it.
R1 you have shared, but R2 paper pattern you have not shared, ma'am. R2.
Paper pattern, okay, ma'am. R2 paper pattern needs guided practice, so questions will be based according to the R2 guidelines, ma'am.
Okay, it will be. It is not given.
It's give, ma'am. R1 will be more of analytical thinking and critical thinking.
That I know. You have told, but
Yeah.
yes, I want to know
But
whether
R2 questions will be straight, ma'am. Direct questions will be there.
Okay, direct question paper having same format. Format
Yeah,
will be same.
format will remain the same.
Okay,
Ma'am, I
thank you.
think marking is same and the question paper is same and the question just analytical and competence is based in the R1 instead of the in the R2.
Okay, nice. Thank you a lot, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Ma'am, respected ma'am, this will be applicable for 9th class only, no? Not for the 10th
present
class.
9th class, ma'am. Now in 10th, we are following the old book. Next year, it may change.
Okay, thank you so much.
Actually, we have.
Just a second,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Nupur
Just a
ma'am?
second.
Nupur ma'am?
Yes.
Excuse me, ma'am. Nupur ma'am?
Excuse me, Noopur ma'am.
Nupur ma'am?
Noopur ma'am.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Dear teachers,
Noopur ma'am.
Question paper pattern
I have a doubt.
Abhinav
I
sir.
have a doubt,
All
ma'am.
the doubts will be addressed. Just wait for 2 minutes. Just have a pause for 2 minutes and I will clear all your doubts.
Ma'am, please share the question paper pattern again.
Sure, ma'am. Sure.
okay.
Nidhi ma'am, if it is possible to please raise the hand. Everyone, if they wish, are you there? If you can get the hands raised and one by one, if you can solve the queries, please do not unmute everyone.
Yes, we will take the queries. 1 minute, please. We will take the queries after 5 minutes. Meanwhile, I am Lalit Gupta, Chairman and Managing Director at Rachna Sagar Private Limited. I would once again like to inform all dear teachers about the new value-added services that we have introduced with our class 10th and class 12th books for all the subjects, whether it is English, Hindi, Math, Science, Chemistry, Physics, etc. For all the books this year we are offering value-added services along with our books, which will have students can register themselves on our website and they can have these value-added services like we will be offering students to interact with the toppers, the previous year toppers of different subjects. We will be also offering discussions with exam evaluators, how the exam is being evaluated. We will also have another value added services of paper setter, how the paper is being set and the student can interact with the paper setter. We also have a fourth value added service wherein the authors of the books will be interacting with the all, all students who will be buying this book and registering with us, they will get this.
कोई सी भी बिल नहीं हो, बिल में सब में होता है बेटा, अगर उसका नाखून लग जाए तो उससे रेबीज होता है। तुम पता फिर इंजेक्शन लगाते हो घूमो उसको रात को लेके, पता है गयूर मामा कितना परेशान रहते हैं।
So all students who will be buying these books and who will be registering on the website, they will get these services free of cost. So they will definitely get benefited out of it. And a bit more details about this value added services, I have Mr. Indranil with us, who will explain these value added services in next 3 to 4 minutes. Just a minute, please.
Very good evening, teachers. Like in this particular new initiative, what we call as a National Toppers Academy. So we have this particular initiative, and under this, like as Lalit sir have been mentioned, so we are actually offering about 4 segments of value-added services in this. So if you talk about in detail about these 4 segments, the first one comes about, we call it as an exam evaluator session. So in this particular exam evaluator sessions, so we have a pool of teachers. Like these particular pool of teachers will help and guide the students about like how to attempt and a question in the boards, wherein in such a way to avoid certain mistakes which can lead to some deduction in the marks. So they will be guiding the students like how to structure answers properly to score more. So this is we call as an exam evaluator sessions. And the next session which we have, which is called exam paper setter. So this particular session also, we have an elite pool of teachers, one who have an experience in this particular paper setter. These teachers are a bit of retired teachers in our panel and also a few acting teachers. So these teachers will explain about the idea to present, how to present the answers properly. And also in this particular paper setter, there is core thing which they will explain to the students to how to understand an intent behind a question. So since like we all know, ma'am, like the competency based questions have been increasing year on year. So these particular competency based questions have been tricky for the students to understand. So to resolve this particular problem for the students, so these particular pool of exam paper setter teachers, they will be guiding the students so to understand a question very clearly and the intent behind it. So when we go to the third pool of class, which we call as toppers live classes. In this toppers live classes, like we have about past 2 to 3 years toppers pool, like we have a mix of students there. Just an example for class 10, we have the rank holders of class 10 students in CBSE. And also when it comes to class 12, we have a pool of toppers in stream wise. For example, we have topper stream, humanities and science. So we have a pool of toppers here. So these particular toppers will actually interact with the board aspirants, the class 10 and 12. They will explain about how to organize the studies and how to handle the stress what they have. And also more importantly, they will actually guide the board aspirant, the current aspirants, like how to manage your time properly to complete the syllabus on time, which can able to lead to score more. So this we call as in a topper segment, toppers live classes. So moving to the last segment, what we have is like we have about a session called subject matter expert session. We also call as in a subject expert session. So in this particular session, again, we have in a larger pool of teachers here, teachers and educators. So the motto of this particular subject matter expert is like it's a doubt solving session. So just in case if a student actually stuck with any topic to have a simplified learning, if they're stuck with any topic, So they visit Rachna Sagar National Toppers Academy website, and they choose their particular desired subject what they have, and all with 2 clicks they can able to book the slot of this particular subject matter session. So in this like all the students have to do is like go to the website, pick the subject what they wanted to have, and in that like just they wanted to just click the subject. Once they click the subject, they will be routing to the pool of teachers available, one who can able to resolve their queries. So among the pool of teachers, a student can able to select a teacher, and then after that like they can able to select the time slot, and that's it, like their class has been booked. So these are the 4 sessions which we are providing to the students. And more importantly, ma'am, like in this particular thing, if you talk about the frequency of the classes which we provide. So for exam evaluator and exam paper setter and the toppers class, in an academic year, let's say in academic year, like starting from this June till January. So this complete this academic year, we will be providing 4 classes each of exam evaluator, paper setter, and toppers classes. So technically speaking, like 4 classes each in this academic year for these 3 segments. Again, when it comes to the subject matter expert sessions, in this particular session, which we call as a doubt solving session for the students, in this per subject, we are allowing about 4 classes in a month. So let's say in a month, we have 4 sessions. So if we calculate, let's say about in this academic year, about 8 to 9 months, taking it randomly 8 to 9 months. If we consider 8 months, 4, 8, it is about 32 classes per subject we will be providing. So this is the complete summary of the value-added services which we have been coming up with this side. And ma'am, like if you can able to see our screen here. So now, how to avail the services? The factor is how to avail the services. So here, like the student who buys our book, Rachna Sagar's question bank, which we branded as 100 plus prep. So this is our category of this particular book. So in this particular thing, like all they wanted to do is like a student will buy our book, and inside the book, you can able to see a boarding pass similar to this, which they will be finding in. And once this is the boarding pass, which will give an access to completely and exclusive access to them of National Toppers Academy. All they wanted to do is visit rachnasagar.in, and you will find a National Toppers Academy slot there. And you need to visit there and register yourself with this particular scratch access code there. Once you enter this access code, then you will be leading to a profile page where you can able to schedule or you can able to book your classes using that particular separate panel. I hope I've been explained everything. Yeah. I think Noopur ma'am, I think you may able to take the questions if you have any.
Noopur ma'am, you can take your query session here. I would request all the teachers that they raise your hand one by one so that ma'am can comfortably take all the queries.
Yeah,
Noopur
sure.
ma'am, please.
We need to unmute the participants. No? We can raise them. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Any queries, any specific query, please feel free to ask. Let's unmute all. Yes, ma'am. Please raise your question.
Evening, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening.
How
Hello,
can
am I audible?
I have a certificate?
Ma'am, good evening. Good evening, ma'am. Good
Ma'am,
evening,
I
ma'am.
Hello, ma'am.
request
Am
you.
I audible
It was
to
quite
you?
informative, ma'am.
Hello.
Actually, only one doubt I have.
Please, please, I request all the teachers to please raise your hand and raise your query one by one, else we'll not be able to take up your queries. Noopur ma'am will not be able to hear you properly.
Dear educators, I'm there to help you out. Feel free to ask as many questions as you wish. We are there for you. The only request is to ask one by one. It will help you to understand. It will help me also.
Ma'am, we can start with you. You have raised your hand. You please put up your query, ma'am. Malu ma'am. Please unmute yourself. Malu Mishra ma'am, you can ask your query. Okay, let's move forward. Mr. Mayank Sangal has a query. Mr. Mayank sir, can you please raise your query?
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, sir.
Ma'am, actually, this is very informative section and everything is very clear to us. So, I have just one query about the specimen section, the
Right.
form which was shared in the chat box. So, I was unable to fill the
मैं देख रही हूँ नहीं है
specimen
हमारे
form. Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
You were
yeah, ma'am.
unable to see the Google form, right, sir?
Yeah, ma'am. Just because of two column are there. The one is school email ID. Actually, at present we don't know about the school email ID. What is it? Because I know only the CBSE ID of the school, not of the personal ID of the school. No?
Okay.
And the second is the name of the book. So what should we fill there in the name of the book section?
Okay. I'm showing the slide again. Just a second, sir. You are asking about the book, the new launch, right, sir?
Yes, sir.
Actually, sir,
Yeah.
if you are not able to provide with your school email ID, you can skip that section.
You can skip that section, right, sir?
Ma'am, actually, that section cannot be skipped because it is star marked, ma'am.
Okay. It's a mandatory section, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that will be taken care by Rachna Sagar people.
Sir,
Just
Mayank sir, I would request you to share your number with us. We'll share you the specimen copy.
Yeah,
case
ma'am, I'm sharing my number in the chat box, ma'am.
Okay,
right,
fine.
sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Welcome,
thank you.
ma'am.
Kanchan ma'am, you can ask your query. Kanchan ma'am, if you are there, you can ask your query. Okay, Anshu ma'am. Anshu Talwar ma'am.
Yes, good evening, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. हाँ जी.
Ma'am,
I had
need
put
to-
up a query.
Ma'am, I need to ask what will be the evaluation scheme for both R1 and R2? It will be same or it will differ?
Ma'am, it has still not come because no official notification has come from CBSE sites right now. So we need to wait.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay, Sangeeta Upadhyay ma'am, if you have any query. Okay, Vandana Dhawan ma'am.
Vandana ma'am, request you to raise your question.
Okay, I think she's not here. Rana ma'am, Rana Memon ma'am.
I believe I have already addressed her query in the chat box.
Okay.
Hello, ma'am. Namaskar. I am Shipra.
Good, namaskar, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. I want to ask you that in that form, I have to fill one column that is written here that is the name of the column is your school ID. So I don't have my school ID in my
Ma'am,
gallery.
request you
So
to
how?
forward your name along with your phone number in the chat box,
Okay.
and Rachna Sagar people are going to take care of it. No worries for that. Feel free.
Shipra ma'am, I would like to add for every participant that all the teachers can share a direct message to host. That is we.
Okay, ma'am.
They can send their contact details and address. We'll get your
Okay,
details in
ma'am.
the chat box and we'll be sharing you the specimen copy if you are not able to fill the Google form.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
This message was for everybody. Those who are not able to fill the email ID of the school, they can send their details, contact number and address in the chat box. Fine. Okay, then we have all more queries. Miss Ganga.
Ma'am, request you to raise your question, ask your question and clear your doubt.
Miss Nahid.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am. Good evening.
Ma'am, kindly guide us about English workbook, ma'am. Newly they have introduced Kaveri workbook, no? That I want to know, ma'am. When to take that, whether in the class or can be given as a homework.
Ma'am,
Or in
it's
the class.
entirely, see, it's your outlook, how you want to take care of it, right? If you feel that it will help the student and they can do it at home, you can give it as a homework. Otherwise, you can take care of it in your class in order to assess them, and you can have a peer review of it. You can discuss the answers. I hope you are able to hear me, ma'am.
Yeah, many participants have asked that how will be they getting the certificate. After the session, we will be sending an e-certificate via mail to all the participants. They will be getting, we have already have your email IDs. We will be sending the e-certificate to all the participants via mail. You need not to worry for that.
I believe we have answered all your queries. Anyhow, if any query is there, feel free to express, to explore, and to understand.
Ma'am, we have many queries, but I think they are not able to raise their queries. We have Mr. Hariom Galotra. He has raised his hand.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
Good evening, ma'am.
good evening, sir.
Yes, ma'am, as you have elaborated the concept of R1 and R2 very beautifully and have shared very easy tips for us for teaching. So, my question is there, can you please tell me some easy tips for students to read through the R1 or R2 concept?
Sir, if I talk about R1 needs less guided support and R2 needs a little more guided support, right? A structured guided support. So initially start with easy tasks specifically for the R2 students, and it will help them to improve and upskill. I hope, sir, I have addressed your query.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, this is Rekha from Jain Public Rewadi. Here is one of the doubt that I just messaged you also to text. We are having R1 and R2, especially in grammar part. Okay. And some of the exercises, type of exercises we are finding uh, quite easy in two, and some they are quite easy in one as well.
Because
We
they
are
want to
having both
strike a
type of.
balance.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's
But we
R1.
are having both. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Continue. Please continue.
Yeah, we are having both type of children, as some are very good at studies and some are very mild as well. So can we mix up these exercises? Some of the exercises, if we are finding comfortable, we can take from part two, R2, and some from R1. Can we do this one?
Yeah, you can go for that. But what actually you can do is that the R1 child can help the R2 child, right? And
Yeah.
it will be a revision type of thing for the R1 child, and our R2 child will get a more guided and structured practice, right? But we
Yeah.
need to complete each and everything which is given in R1.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Yeah. And one thing, one more question is here also. We are having some of the exercise in after each and every chapter in Kaveri, especially writing part, speaking part. Such kind of activities we are having. They are really very good. Can we just have a mix and match with suppose I am having notice and in book I am having it was like a poster making. Yes, in second chapter or first I forgot. We got one of the activity. I think in after port maker we are having one that one. So can we give the child option like this? Ki one notice they are writing and we are taking one poster from the book.
Yeah, you can go for that, but there should be nothing which should be left, right? Because you are guiding your learners in a very organized manner, isn't it?
Okay.
So
Okay.
what chapter you are taking, according to that, what suits the learner, you as a mentor, you as an educator need to guide them in a correct direction.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Because CBSE now allows flexible teaching approach, right?
Yeah.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, is it so that you can opt either for R1 or for R2? You cannot mix up both the things.
Yeah, we cannot mix both the things, but R1 should go for all the things which are given in R1 syllabus, and R2 should go for all the things which is
Yeah, I
given
just
in
wanted
R2
to
syllabus. But
clarify
if
this thing only,
but
that
if
we cannot mix up both the
but
R1
if
and
certain topic is same, right? Like for example, the book Kaveri is same, whether it's R1 and R2. So in that context, we need to cover.
May I say something? Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am.
I'm using these Rachna Sagar books for more than 2 decades, and they have been very helpful. They
Right.
provide the books in time, and I
More
use
than
them for
3
my.
decades, ma'am. They are since 1996. And
Yeah, I'm
it's a
using
long
them for
journey
more
and
than
they
2
are guiding
decades.
us in a well-structured manner.
Definitely. So we are very thankful for this session also, and we hope for another session in the times to come, because everything is new in class 9. And we have
Right.
recently got the books. The books were not available in the market in the month of April. In May, we had got them.
Right.
So we
Thank
hope
you for giving us a positive and constructive feedback. We look forward to connect with you people again.
Definitely, when we receive the help books, it will be very clear, crystal clear to all of us what to do and how to proceed in the classes.
Right, ma'am. Thank you for being so generous and appreciating.
Thank you, ma'am. And you've been a great resource person, very knowledgeable and very informative. You are, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Welcome, ma'am. Thank you.
I think more queries can be tackled via email, because this session has
Ma'am,
been.
I have already shared my personal number. They should feel free. In case they are not receiving the certificate, they can text me. I will be forwarding it to you. Or any specific query related with any R1, R2 topic they want to clear, they can ask.
Yeah, I would request
So
all the
learning never
teachers.
stops, and our connection, our association will continue.
Yes, ma'am. I would request the teachers, if they have any more queries, they can pass on directly to Miss Noopur via mail or WhatsApp, and she will be clearing all your doubts.
Yeah.
Ma'am, we can wind up the session.
Yeah, a big thank you to each one of you. A big thanks to Ratna Sagar and team, Rachna Sagar and team for providing us an opportunity to connect and collaborate.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Nidhi ma'am, can we end the session now?
Sure, ma'am.
Please share your contact number. Please share your contact number,
My
ma'am.
contact number is, my name is Noopur Majumdar, and contact number is 9958237262. I'm repeating it again, 9958237262.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Have a great day ahead. Looking forward to get connected again.